and radio program, Will Hild of Consumers Research said the Rainbow Library Project is an attempt to push radical LGBT propaganda into public schools and the hands of children across the country.
It's supported by a group called GLSEN, which is called the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network. And that's their entire mission, is to basically push this type of propaganda into schools.
Corporate sponsors in recent years have included Kia and TJ Maxx. Hill called that fairly surprising, given the activities the Rainbow Library is focused on for kids as young as 5 years old.
I actually brought up the websites, the library itself, just so I could read off some of these titles. The Lesbian's Guide to Catholic School, Beyond the Gender Binary. And then a number of these titles seem innocuous, which is part of their strategy, but actually are usually an allegory for some sort of, sexual preference or lifestyle that they're trying to push. So things like Timid or Cinder Elliott, a scrumptious fairy tale, which is clearly a transgender allegory. So this is a common strategy where some of the books are explicit in what they are pushing. Some of them are not explicit, so that a parent or teacher picked one up, they wouldn't realize what they were reading maybe until they got into it.
More than 8,000 schools in 33 states participate in GLSEN's Rainbow Library. According to the library's website, it reaches over 6 million students. I'm Chris Woodward.
Google Maps is making some changes following President Trump's prompting. Tom Graham explains.
Google Maps will reflect President Trump's push to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. The president also wants to go back to calling the highest mountain in North America Mount McKinley. In 2015, former President Barack Obama pushed for the mountain to officially be called Denali, its Alaskan native name. President Trump directed the Department of Interior to rename the Gulf of Mexico and go back to using the name Mount McKinley after the 25th president. Google Maps will make the changes. U.S. users will see the names preferred by President Trump. Elsewhere, Google Map users will see both names. Tom Graham, Fox News.
American Family News is online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Preborn would like to thank AFR listeners for your prayer and financial support. During our special Preborn campaign, as a result of your donations, 4,500 babies will be saved and their mothers will hear the gospel. Just $28 pays for a free ultrasound, and when an abortion-minded mother sees her baby, she's likely to choose life. Learn more at preborn.com. Please continue to pray for Preborn and give as you're able. On behalf of unborn babies and their mothers, again, thank you.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Issues, the name of this show here on AFR, Tuesday, January the 28th, 2025. We hope you're having a good day. If you're not, we're sorry about that, but hope your day improves. I'm Tim with Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning, and we hope that we can help make your day better.
That's why we're here. Partly why we're here.
Partly.
Yeah. So we're only going to share good news today.
Yeah.
Well, we got. Hey, since Trump came into office, we got it. We got a lot of good news.
Winning. That's winning. A lot of winning.
You're going to get tired of winning.
Get tired of it.
President Trump is continuing to roll on each day with some positive actions for our country.
Fulfilling his promises.
That's right. So promises made, promises kept. Is that what they say?
That's right.
Fred Jackson, good morning, Fred.
Yeah, I referred to him this morning as President Tornado.
Well, he lives in Florida, so maybe a hurricane would be more appropriate. But
he just doesn't stop. I mean, every day when I come in now, there's 3 or 4 announcements being made.
Yeah.
All positive.
Oh, yeah.
All good.
Yeah. All right, so Christopher Woodward joins us. Good morning, Brother Chris.
Good morning. I'll do my best to always bring in positive and encouraging news.
That's who we are, Chris. We're positive and encouraging, man. All right, so before we get to the news, I have news here of American Family Radio sometime today. Brent Creeley, our producer, I know you don't even know what I'm going to ask you. Maybe you do.
Okay.
Say hello to everybody, Brent.
Good morning, everybody.
Brent's sort of the brains behind this outfit.
He gets our guests together.
Well, I don't know.
He's got his finger beside the what is it? The delay button in case somebody.
Yeah, in case somebody says something stupid.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, which rarely happens here. So aren't we're supposed to go in the air in Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, right?
Yes, sir. That's today, I believe. It's either today or tomorrow, but
That's
I think
what I'm
it's
asking you
today.
about. Today?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's today. Some engineers are on their way or over there.
Right.
So who knows? They may flip the switch while we're on the air here.
Yeah.
But we bought 2 new stations. We don't buy as many stations as we used to. They're very expensive. Radio stations are very expensive. And so, but we bought one in Birmingham, Alabama, and Tuscaloosa.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
97.7 is the frequency in Birmingham, and the new one in Tuscaloosa is 88.5.
Nice.
Okay.
I used to live in Birmingham. It's
You
the
did?
Magic City.
Yeah, that's right. I was over there yesterday. In fact.
So we've got 2 stations in Alabama, 1 in Birmingham, 1 in Tuscaloosa,
Yeah.
and they go on in the next either today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's exciting news. So in addition to what's taking place out of the new administration, all the
Yeah.
good news there, we've got good news here. We're
That's right.
expanding our territory ministry.
Now,
That's
this may have an impact on our college football comment.
Yeah.
That's a
They're
good
going to
one,
love
Fred.
Trivia Friday in the cowbell, let me tell you.
Yes, that's
Well,
a good one.
We'll see about that. I don't know. But listen, hey, I love my Roll Tide fans. They're just so fun to
One
be
of a kind.
So fun to be around. If they
They're
win,
not proud at all.
if they win, they let you know.
Uh-huh.
And
They
if
lose, they
if
skip
lose,
church on
they're-
Sunday.
If they lose, you don't want to be around
Yeah.
them.
Just skip church on
Honestly.
Sunday. I'm just kidding.
I can tell you.
And there's Auburn fans too now. Don't
Oh,
forget,
sure.
there's a lot of Auburn
Yes.
fans.
There are. I can tell you from having worked over there for many years with Auburn and Bama fans, they do not talk to one another during or after the week of the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
And I have heard stories from people where like even churches are divided and everybody's just kind of minding their own business during that time of year.
Well, listen, it's going to be good for us here at American Family Radio. I know a lot of people listening to us right now have friends and family who live in the greater Birmingham area and Tuscaloosa. We already have a signal that reaches into Tuscaloosa, but it doesn't cover the whole city.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that, flipping that switch today, and we'll be on the air in those 2 places. That'll give us probably about 75% coverage of the state of Alabama.
That's
In
great.
terms of population and geographical coverage, because we've got stations all over the state right now.
Montgomery is covered, I believe.
Montgomery, Huntsville, Quad Cities. We got a Central Alabama station, Lower Central Alabama station. We're only Mobile, which covers the Gulf Shores, and
That's right.
so
That's right.
Mobile coming out of the snowstorm.
yeah. Is anybody still down there? Or are they frozen in time?
I think they're thawing out.
But I haven't heard from anybody in Mobile in a week. I just wonder if they're okay down there.
They're going to get 70-degree temperatures in the next few days.
I thought you were about to say they're going to get 7 more inches of snow.
No,
okay,
no, no.
70-degree, yes.
You know who I thought about would be funny?
Yeah.
Is funny is we mentioned this. All the snowbirds that go down to the Gulf Coast during the winter, and for the most part they have pleasant weather.
Sure.
But you know, last week they got teased by their friends back home in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania. They were calling down there saying, "Hey, how's the weather?
Yeah.
Huh?
How's the weather down there?
How's the weather down there?" All right, because of that monumental
Yes.
snowstorm they got last
The
week.
beaches were really white last week.
Yeah, the pictures that I saw of layers and layers and just thickness of soft, fluffy snow on covering the
beach.
sand.
Yeah.
It's so vivid, you'll never forget
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, it was historic.
Yeah.
That
That's
was
right.
historic snowfall, all the way from Texas over to Florida,
Mhm.
along the Gulf Coast there. All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Sandy Rios will be with us in a few minutes. She's been on top of the January 6th incarcerations and what's happened subsequent to that since President Trump pardoned all those who were in prison. And we'll talk to her. And then Kirk Cameron. Yes, that Kirk Cameron will be with us at the bottom of the hour. What's your first story, Chris?
Well, as we are broadcasting right now, the Trump-Vance administration is still continuing on with its mass deportation plan. courtesy of the folks at ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. Speaking of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, who's now Secretary of DHS, just a few days into her job, actually joined an immigration raid today in New York City. She tweeted this or posted this, enforcement operation in New York City underway. Criminal alien with kidnapping, assault, and burglary charges is now in custody thanks to ICE. She went on to say that individuals like this will continue to be removed from our streets. New York City is one area, but we've also seen and heard stories like this in places like Chicago and even parts of like the Southeast and Midwest. There have been people posting pictures of ICE vehicles up and down their streets where authorities are looking for individuals here without our permission.
Yeah.
And so, what are that? I know. Where are they sending them? Or once they arrest them?
Well, they're sending them south of the border. I know Mexico has said we're not taking these people, but in recent days, Colombia said they would take people. That was due to a kind of a tariff threat from President Trump, but even other countries right now, it looks like Trump's in talks with to send these individuals down there. El Salvador.
What a contrast. The former Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, he put out the welcome mat.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, come all.
Yeah.
There you have Kristi Noem on the streets of New York this morning proudly saying we're arresting these people.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're going after the criminals.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, the gang members, the cartels, all those folks. That's who ICE is, quote, rounding up.
Starting there.
Across America. Yep. And so they're doing that, and, they're having to work out with each individual country
to
take back their
criminals,
their people. Yeah.
You know, as you're reading that story, do you not just feel a sense of just satisfaction? Like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has taken somebody, meaning the new administration, has taken a criminal that one's already broken the law by coming here illegally,
right?
And once they got here, they have a long list of crimes that they've committed. And in some cases, they've served some time for them, probably not enough, and generally speaking. But we're taking them. We already know where they are. We're gathering them up, and we're sending them back to their country. Don't you just feel a little safer?
Yeah.
I was reading the border shutdown.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Also, in addition to
until further notice,
the flood of people coming into our country illegally.
We've got a story on that.
Has slowed to a trickle.
Yeah, I've got the ballpark figure.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell us.
Less than 600 people crossed illegally into the U.S. from Mexico on Sunday, a stunningly low number since Trump took office a week ago.
Well, and there was a high during the Biden administration on a single day where 11,000 illegal immigrants crossed the border. So,
for comparison, the daily number of border encounters during the final days of the Biden White House teetered between 1,200 to 1,400 per day.
Think about that.
Yeah.
How many?
Under Biden's last day, it was 1,200 to 1,400 per day, and now we're down to less than 600.
Well, there was a day during his term where the peak was 11,000 in a day.
Well, Biden, they basically emptied out Central America.
Yes.
I mean, good night.
Starting with their
over the last 4 years. I mean, good grief.
No, seriously. But so we're making
well,
progress.
yeah. President Trump has, of course, that was a big issue for him. In fact, I think he was quoted as saying he felt like that was the number one issue people voted on for him over Harris.
Paul said that too.
Was his promise to secure the border, and also to deport criminals who are here in our country, and he's cracking down. He's doing exactly what he said he would do. So. So this only proves that it could have been done, but former President Biden and Vice President Harris at the time didn't give a rip. They didn't care about securing the border. They wanted millions of people to come here. Yeah. They didn't even care when Democrat mayors complained to them in Chicago and New York, and Boston, saying, "Hey, we can't take any more of these folks." So good news there from this new administration.
One of the locations where they busted this morning, 130,000 fentanyl pills found at one location.
Yeah, really? I didn't know that.
130,000 fentanyl pills.
Well, fentanyl is killing.
It's killing people.
Killing people, killing Americans, especially a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Across the country. Anyway, congratulations to President Trump and Vice President Vance. Vice President Vance has been doing some interviews too, right?
He has. Can I cue up a clip here?
Did you say Sandy will or will not be on? Working on it. Okay.
Let's do this. To give an example
If she cops an attitude again, we're gonna have to talk off the radio, okay? Because I'm getting. But we'll
deal with that in a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Speaking of the vice president, one of the interviews that he has done was with CBS, specifically Face the Nation with anchor reporter Margaret Brennan. She attempted to criticize him, saying, "You guys said you were going to bring down the price of food, and you've been in office now a few days. You haven't brought down things like bacon." Here's what she had to say in his response. Clip 6.
Things you experience at the grocery store, what people touch and feel. That's what you were talking about, bacon on the campaign trail.
Of course. of course.
Those things, when do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives?
Well, Margaret, how does bacon get to the grocery store? It comes on trucks that are fueled by diesel fuel. If the diesel's way too expensive, the bacon's going to become more expensive. How do we grow the bacon? Our farmers need energy to produce it. So if we lower energy prices, we are going to see lower prices for consumers, and that is what we're trying to fight for.
That's Vice President Vance on what was it?
Face the Nation, CBS.
On Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the last 3.5 years, Democrats and the mainstream media haven't wanted to talk about grocery prices. But all of a sudden, 1 week into the Trump administration, we're worried about the price of bacon.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, I know.
the hypocrisy meter.
She's giving him 1 week to bring down the prices of groceries.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And,
I see the comparison now.
And didn't care at all the last 4 years.
Oh, no.
We're talking about the liberal news media.
Yes.
That's right.
Which this...
it was corporate greed when Biden was in office. Now it's Trump's fault.
yeah. So, you know what?
That's funny.
What did Vice President Vance say right there? Something about what the bacon?
How do we grow the bacon?
Oh, yeah. He's a good question. He asks good questions.
Yeah, I just never heard grow.
How do we grow the bacon?
Do we know?
That's right. It's not like planting a seed. I get it.
It sounded like corn.
I thought that too.
Somebody in Ohio goes, "We know you can't grow bacon."
Yeah.
Okay.
Grow bacon. Well, you do grow the bacon by growing the pigs.
I think that's what he meant. Yeah.
You grow the pigs, you grow the bacon. But that's as far as we want. That's as much as we want to talk about that. If you do have to go from the pig to the grocery store.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
that's very upsetting to think about.
For some.
But
then I think about the bacon wrapped filet mignon, and then I'm okay.
Yeah, the bacon. Yeah, the bacon wrapped. The bacon wrapped filet mignon.
But I do think that, don't y'all think though, within the next 12 months, 6 to 12 months, don't you think the grocery prices will start going down?
I would say by
some?
Easter you should start to see some relief. It's still going to be expensive.
Sure. I mean, again, I don't think it'll ever go back to pre-COVID because that's a drastic number to get to, and there's natural inflation.
Well, if you can just stop the increase, all right. I don't know that the prices are going to go down. Who knows? We've had inflationary prices for since Biden took office.
Oh yeah,
basically.
Yep,
3 years.
And so we'll see what happens there.
I sure hope so. I was counting on.
Are you going to grow a garden?
No, I've tried that. I grew a garden years ago when Chelsea and I first got married about 10 years ago.
What kind of garden did you grow?
And that's for kids because when you start adding kids, that's when you start losing a lot of time.
Hey, they're considered farm hands, man. You need to put them out there in the garden.
I thought about doing one again, just to teach them, and I probably will one day. But there's a lot. That's a hobby.
I enjoy it.
Gardening is a hobby.
Mm-hmm. I have one.
Oh, you have one? What do you grow?
Tomatoes, cucumbers, watermelon, cantaloupe, peas.
Wow.
I've done eggplant. I've had beans before.
You're a regular farmer, Chris.
Yeah, my father-in-law showed me the ropes a couple of years ago, and I've kind of followed what he told me, and I pray a lot for the garden. And
pray for your garden?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm talking like get down in the dirt. But if you start in April and you plant it and everything goes according to plan, you should start getting tomatoes around 4th of July.
Yeah.
And the cucumbers are going to come in first, too.
What about you, Fred? You're a gardener?
Squash. I've grown that.
We have a small garden.
Like what do you grow?
Because, we get beans, peas, tomatoes.
But you live in town, right?
Yes.
So you don't have much land to garden.
Yeah, here's the problem. At certain times here in the South, you can get corn on the cob. You buy them in the grocery store. You can get them for about 20 cents an ear.
Mm-hmm.
You start thinking about the work goes into planting and weeding and watering and all that sort of thing. No, thank you. I will take those 20 cents per ear.
That's why I said it ultimately is a hobby, because if you start adding everything up, the time and money and effort.
It's the fulfillment of watching things grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I support it 100%. I'm all in. If I had if I didn't coach a select travel baseball team, then I probably would be
a gardener.
Yeah. It's one of those. I enjoyed that much, but I plan on bringing it back for a year or so to let my kids learn how to do it.
You don't garden. Brent checking his
Hey, he's
kids.
got a place to do it.
You got some. You live on some land. You don't garden,
So I love my dad.
right?
Tried it.
My dad had a big garden.
Right.
And in the summertime,
Right.
kind of what you was alluding to with Wesley,
Right.
kids went out and
Did the
picked the garden.
Okay,
and
you were one of the kids.
yes. So
Okay.
He got his
to
fix.
Fred's point, I'd rather pay a little extra money and have it there.
The
Not
convenience.
doing it.
Yeah,
Yes, not doing
convenience.
it.
Well, summer's on the way, and people be. We need to. A couple of our folks here on our staff, they're like tomato.
Yes.
Connoisseurs. Yeah.
Yeah, they got this huge.
Drew is like the tomato Don.
Yeah.
Drew is our male director of our
He
mail
works in our
service.
mail room. He has this farm.
Yeah.
Well,
That-
it's basically a tomato farm.
You would think it's a farm if you hadn't, just based on what he talks
All-
about, brings up.
Well, he's got all kind of different tomatoes and he names them, like different varieties and brands.
I thought you
like
meant he names them like,
no,
this is
well,
Jack.
they're from around the world.
That's
That
right.
there's
They're like
a big
tomatoes
boy.
from around
That's
the
it.
world.
That there's
Yeah.
a big.
Beefsteak. There's different tomatoes.
I tried one time to grow some fried green,
Yeah.
and I could never figure it out.
Fried green.
Fried green tomatoes.
You mean like you just bought them fried
I
and you
wanted
ate
to-
them and
yeah.
said they were grown, or what?
You know what, Wesley? I just pulled your leg and you fell for it. You should know better. Okay, you should know better. All right. So no Sandy. All right.
Okay.
We were. So you're listening to today's issues. Kirk Cameron will be with us at the bottom of the hour. We look forward to visiting with Brother Kirk. What's your next story, Chris?
Somebody else in office that has been doing a lot of media interviews is Pennsylvania Democrat John Fetterman. He was on The View yesterday, and one of the things The View likes to do is groupthink. They want everybody to agree with them. And so one of the hosts of The View brought up the fact that Fetterman has been one of the few Democrats to meet with and speak with President Donald Trump, and they attempted to hold his feet to the fire over having a discourse with Donald Trump, but Fetterman held his own here. Clip 4.
Immediately after the election, I was like, hey, we have a choice. We can freak out and follow every other thing around, like a cat, with a laser, after everyone. But I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be that Democrat. For me, there's things I'm going to agree with, I'm going to disagree with, but I'm in the business of finding wins for Pennsylvania and for the nation, and engaging the president. I think I see that as doing my job.
All right, that's Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania. He's the fellow who wears Saturday clothes 7 days.
Everywhere.
He was wearing the hoodie.
He wears
during
Saturday clothes 7 days a week. Hey, listen, most everybody listening here enjoys casual clothing, don't we?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Huh? But he carries it to a whole new level as a United States senator. He wears the hoodie and the shorts. He even wore it in the rotunda, I think, for the inauguration.
He did.
But his attire aside, for a Democrat, he's a fairly reasonable guy. Fetterman, he's turning out to be.
Comparatively speaking.
Comparatively speaking, he's not a conservative by any means, but he is he's pro-Israel.
He follows a lot of common sense things.
Yes, he's pro-Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and he's also pro stopping the millions of people coming over the border.
Yeah.
So on the border, he's a pretty reasonable guy.
And am I correct that he also does not support men and women's sports as well?
I think you're right on
Yeah.
that. I think you're right. Now he had, when he first entered office, he had that some kind of a speech impediment or brain. What he had brain surgery or something going on there. You
Is it a
remember that?
stroke?
What was that?
A stroke?
Yeah, stroke.
Something of that sort.
I'm a stroke. So that. So evidently he's recovered from that because
Yeah, that was a very coherent soundbite.
That's right. That's right. That was John Fetterman. The now you gotta admit he could double as a pro wrestler.
He's a big guy.
Huh?
Big
I mean, the guy's
He's got
huge.
the looks too.
He's huge, and he's
Got the bald head and the beard.
a bald head, got the beard. He could definitely be walking down the airport, and you go, hey, I know that guy from WWE, or something like that. All right, so anyway, that was John Fetterman. I don't know. There are only a few Democrats who are willing to. What he's saying is, listen. He's saying, listen, it's a reality. Trump won, and we have to deal with that as Democrats. And I want what's best for my state. And in order to do that, I need to work with the administration. That's what he was saying.
Yep.
So anyway, let's take our break right here, Brent.
All right, is that because you're getting tired of all the good news? You need a break?
Well,
need a break?
We need some more good news. Actually, we're going to step away here and start planting our tomatoes.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in about 3 minutes with more of today's issues. Kirk Cameron is scheduled to be with us, so we look forward to that conversation momentarily.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Most of us remember reading a short verse of scripture in the book of Proverbs. Train up a child in the way he should go. I saw a tragedy last Sunday morning. I hope I see it again next Sunday morning. For I'd rather see the tragedy I saw than a greater one I fear will eventually occur. I'll call him Johnny. That's not his name, but for our purpose, that's what I'll call him. Johnny's in elementary school. He's in his formative years, and Johnny is the tragedy, or miracle as it may turn out to be. You see, Johnny came to Sunday school and worshiped by himself last week. He's been doing it for some time now. Sometimes Johnny will ride with a neighbor to the church. Sometimes when the weather is good, he'll walk. Sometimes a member of his family will bring Johnny to the church and drop him off. Now, what's the tragedy I saw? Just that. Someone in Johnny's family bringing Johnny, dropping him off to go by himself. Johnny's father and mother have something else to do, more important. And so Johnny managed to get to the place that would give him some direction in life all by himself. The story is repeated often in our society. However, I'm afraid it doesn't happen enough, for most Johnnies never manage to get to Sunday school and worship. They simply find more important things to do, like the rest of the family. How long little Johnny will continue to see to it that he gets himself to a place that can give him moral and spiritual instruction and guidance, I don't know. I hope he'll find strength in himself to continue the habit, but I'm afraid that one day Johnny will find it easier to sleep, or one Sunday the family will make some plans that will require Johnny to be away, and that will be followed by another Sunday with some more plans, and another and another. I guess what I'm really saying is that the pack is stacked against Johnny. The chances of his continuing his present habits are small. The odds against him are too heavy. Johnny will find further down the road that his visits to the house of God will have to cease. The family has other things to do, more important. Johnny is not a poor boy. His family is one of means. They have what most families long for, 2 cars, a fine home, modern conveniences, the whole works. Now, they're not millionaires, but they're well over the poverty line, materially speaking. And that's the tragedy. Johnny's family gives him everything he needs, except what he needs the most. And I guess if you ask them, Johnny's family would say they love him. Certainly there would be an emptiness in their home should Johnny suddenly die. But like I said, Johnny's chances are slim. There's just too much going against him. There's always that slight hope for a miracle, however. So I guess we can hope. But in a few years, if Johnny doesn't make it and he turns out wrong, don't be too hard on him, for as a youngster he really tried. Oh, incidentally, Johnny is not kin to you, is he?
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildman, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hey, just returned from the presidential inauguration of President Trump and Vice President Vance. And let me tell you something, folks. There's an excitement in the air among millions and millions and millions of Americans who are ready for some common sense changes to come to our country. Guess what? We're going to Washington, D.C. again for our Spiritual Heritage Tour in June and September. We're over halfway full. If you want to go with us to see our nation's capital from a distinctively Christian heritage viewpoint, then you need to contact us. You need to go to wildmangroup.com, WILDMON group.com. We're also going to Colonial Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to Boston in October. For information on any of these tours, go to wildmangroup.com, WILDMON group.com.
You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all of your heart. Jeremiah 29:13.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues here on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim with Wesley, Fred, and Chris. And as always, we thank you for listening to AFR. Well, we have, from time to time, we have our guest, our friend Kirk Cameron on, who's our guest right now. Kirk is moving around the country. He's running from the law. That's what I've been told. And I think he's in Tennessee now.
You want to give his address now, too?
Yeah, Google Maps. All right, Kirk, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing great, Tim. I may be running from the law, but I hear you're running from your wife, and that's even more terrifying. She's got the frying pan out. She's ready to just teach you a couple lessons.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I never want that
Good
to
to
happen.
talk to you, brother.
Yeah, you too. By the way, you and I were texting a few weeks ago, and I was unaware you'd moved your family.
Yeah, I did. My kids moved us. They moved to Middle Tennessee,
right.
And we were left all alone after raising 6 kids in California. We were empty nesters, and we said, wait a minute, we want to be where the kids are, and so we moved to Middle Tennessee, and then the other 3 joined all of us with a grandbaby. So we had a Tennessee Christmas. It was beautiful.
Amen.
That's it. Now, you grew up in Southern California, though, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I've always lived out there in Southern California, right where the wildfires are. We have, in fact, packed up our house. We were ready to evacuate because it was very close to where we live.
Yeah, that's just, wow. We've all seen the images, and it's just hard to believe looking at that situation out there. Well, Kirk, your ministry is to families and children, and you've got a tour you're taking around the country. Tell us about that.
That's right. I'm not just running from the law. I'm actually running to the family of faith to say, guys, we have an opportunity right now, perhaps more than any other time in our lives, with the air cover that we've got at the White House for the family of faith to begin doing the work of reforming and revitalizing the biblical principles in America that will lead to our children's blessing. It's a tour called Strong Families, Strong Communities, and I'm going to be unpacking all the big ideas from my new book called Born to be Brave. So I'm excited, man. I hope I get to come somewhere near you, Tim.
Well, a lot of people say that to me, but I just take it in stride. You don't get a big head or anything like that. So, Born to be Brave. So, where do people go and read? Where can people go and find out if you're going to be coming to a town near them?
Yeah. So go to Kirk Cameron Tour. That's real easy, KirkCameronTour.com. And you'll see all 20 of the cities that we will be in. And, come with your husband, your wife, your kids. It's going to be a great time with Matt Hammett, the former lead singer from Sanctus Real. He's a good buddy of mine. He's going to be leading worship, and I'm going to be bringing the message. And we've got VIP tickets for a meet and greet and taking pictures. And it's going to be a great time of hope and encouragement and a personal family plan for how to be a part of America's spiritual comeback.
Hey, this is Wesley here. I'm looking at a couple different states that you'll be in. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just to hit some high ones. You got Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Kansas, and then of course Mississippi. You'll be in Laurel, Mississippi. So Laurel, Mississippi, what is that? Three hours from Tupelo, our headquarters here.
Like
so,
that.
hey, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So is this going to be an all like a 2-hour deal, or is it a weekend deal? What does this look like?
This is a 2-hour deal.
Okay.
So you can come and spend the night, have a little getaway for the weekend with the wife or the husband, or you can make it up and back in the same day.
Okay.
So just 2 hours, but it's going to be like an adrenaline shot and help you put together a plan that's going to last for generations in your family.
Okay. I got a quick question.
go ahead.
Here. Okay, so to drill down on some content here, we're going to have some listeners here where either they are or they know someone whose marriage is in trouble and or right at the brink of potentially signing papers for divorce. I know over the years I've had the privilege of meeting people that were listening to AFR, and through the contemporary Christian music, through the Bible teaching that we offer, their marriage was saved because they were listening at just the right time. And I know that there's people listening like that right now. So what can people expect to get from this? And is this one of those weekends where you would invite somebody whose marriage is on the brink, or is this more so who are you targeting here?
Well, you're talking about people whose marriages are in trouble, and judging from the size of the pop knot on Tim's head, I think we might be talking about him. His wife just popped him with the frying pan.
See, this is
I
how
think he
rumors
needs to
start.
come
This
to
is how rumors
this conference.
Our rumors start.
Hey, listen, if you ever met my mom, Miss Allison, I don't think it ever gets that far.
No, I don't.
Oh no! You don't mess with Miss Allison. Hey, this is not a marriage CPR conference.
Okay.
This is about how to be a part of building a strong family, which of course rests on the foundation of a marriage, and building strong communities so that we can turn the nation around for our children and the glory of God. Amen. From the inside out and from the bottom up. So it's comprehensive. It's a total message from your heart to your home to the nation. Okay. And we're going to talk about revival. We're going to talk about personal plans that you can put in practice to stop being a complainer about the culture and start being a creator of the culture. Rather than resigning to whining, let's resort to winning by putting God's word into practice in the home, the church, and civil government.
Amen.
Talking to Kirk Cameron, who's a Tennessean now, and Kirk has got a new tour coming out. He's going to be traveling around. You can go and see the city and state list where he's going to be and the dates he's going to be. Go to KirkCameron.com. That's what I'm looking at right now, KirkCameron.com. Strong Families, Strong Communities Church Tour. And this is
exciting. I'm glad. This is perfect timing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's Born to be Brave tour, right?
Well, you know what? We've got all sorts of names.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Strong Families, Strong Communities, and the content that we will be discussing comes out of my book called Born to be Brave.
Got you. Talking to Kirk Cameron. You mentioned at the top of our interview here, you said we've got air cover from the White House now with President Trump and Vice President Vance in there. I agree with you, and I understand what you're saying, but you might expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, listen, Trump cannot create the culture we want for our children. But what he can do is he can create an iron dome. Now, actually, he's literally talking about that right now. But imagine if you've got fighter jets over the top of you shooting down missiles that are coming toward the people from the outside, that's great. But if we want to really build a country that is going to lead to our children's blessing, we've got to do that. The foot soldiers in our home, in our churches, in our local communities. And so I think the next 4 years provides us opportunity that we did not have the last 4 years. And I'm so glad God's clocks keep perfect time. We saw what we were heading toward the last 4 years. And now we have an opportunity to say, okay, God, we get it. Tear open the heavens, pour out your grace, rend our hearts, and give us repentance and courage to do what we should have been doing all along.
Amen. I call it, another word to use is a reprieve. That is, we were under siege. We, the Christian community in this country, conservatives, were under siege from this former White House and the federal government in many ways. And now that President Trump and Vice President Vance are there, the attacks from the federal government are stopping and will stop completely. And so so we will have the freedom to do unapologetically. We should have been doing that anyway, but it's tougher when the federal government is trying to come after you because of your faith. I've said to people, people say, well, what evidence do you have for that? Let me just tell you, well, there's a lot of evidence that we could point out from the last 4 years. But let me just tell you this. We could have potentially had our licenses, had American Family Radio, revoked, challenged. We'd been fined, had Harris and her
Walls
and Waltz and that whole
team,
that whole bunch, as it were, would have come in, and they would have made it twice as bad as Biden did, because she was a true believer in far left politics. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, and so it would have been bad all the way around. But thank God she didn't get elected, and we have a reprieve, and we have an opportunity, a new birth of freedom, as Kirk's talking about. But as Kirk is saying, it's not Donald Trump's job to build the church and the family, okay? It's not the Republican Party's job to build the church and the family.
Right.
It's not the government's job to build the church and the family. It's in reverse. The church and the family should be impacting the culture, which impacts politics. So that's the way it's supposed to work. So anyway.
That's right.
All right. Well, I usually am. But,
I feel like before we let him go, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
A little bit changing subject. What for the dads that are listening right now? I know that you've raised your family. They're all empty. You're an empty nester now, and you're on this side of it. You said now you're a granddad. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm a grandpa.
Oh, grandpa.
Right.
Okay.
My granddaughter calls me Chief.
Chief. Okay, you're a chief now. Okay, I got you.
Look at that.
So what is one? I know we could spend hours doing this, but what's one advice you would give to the dads that are listening right now?
Oh man. Boy. I would say right now we are in desperate need of brave men, courageous men. I want to say a phrase that's just a bit crude, but men need to grow something right now, because we've got a transgender movement and a feminization of the masculine culture. Amen. To where even my boys are saying, Dad, what does it mean to be a man? I can't find anybody who is willing to stand up and talk about what a man is. They can't even define what a man is. Men give birth according to this crazy ideology today. So I'd say, men, you are warriors. It is time to arise. You are the foot soldiers in God's loving army of compassion. Imagine an America where government shrinks to its appropriate size because people are taking care of the problems at the local level.
Amen.
Imagine an America where corporations are done away with all of the illegal discrimination and the DEI stuff, and we're hiring people and valuing them based on their merit, their skill, their character, their integrity, and their faith. That's not going to happen if we continue to shrink in the corners and act like mice.
Yeah.
We need to be Bravehearts. We need to be John Knox and John Calvin.
Amen.
And Wesley and Spurgeon and Moody and the Pilgrims and the founders. Amen. Our generation is screaming for it. So, guys, you Amen. Are the warriors. Arise.
Amen. All right, Kirk, thanks so much for being on with us. We encourage people to check out Kirk's schedule. Kirk Cameron will be touring and speaking, and he's going to be, as Wesley said earlier, in like 8 or 10 states coming up in the next month or so. And all right, Kirk, thanks so much, my friend. We appreciate it.
All right. God bless you both.
Okay.
Take care, brothers.
Okay, take care. That's Kirk Cameron joining us.
That's
I guess
awesome.
he's in the Nashville area.
Sounded like he was in a tunnel there for a little bit, though.
He sounded like he had picked up a little bit of our accent after having lived in our part of the country.
There you go.
Well, he's a Southern California boy, so
Just because it's got Southern in it?
He speaks Southern Californian.
Now, when we talk about the fires out there, we're talking fires.
Yeah.
Out there.
Hope we don't do that too much.
I try.
Okay, you try to get your English correct.
Try.
I speak good.
Okay.
And if you are a fan of English, you'll know why that's funny.
All right, what's your next story, Chris?
I want to bring people's attention to something that President Trump has announced, and Fred has posted this on our website, which you can read at afn.net. President Trump has ordered a pause to federal loans and grants. I'm reading from our story here. The White House is pausing federal grants and loans starting today as President Donald Trump's administration begins an across-the-board ideological review of its spending. This pause is to take effect today at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and it's unclear from the memo on how sweeping this will be. I can tell you that I'm looking at C-SPAN right now, and Senator Chuck Schumer has already come out to throw a fit about this, and I've posted a link to that on our Today's Issues Facebook page.
Now, again, repeat, what is President Trump doing now?
He's ordering a pause to federal grants and loans. In other words, things we're throwing money out left and right to spend money on.
Well, I like that idea, just from telling me about it.
Well, and I think one of the targets in this is what we've talked about many times on this program is post-secondary places like universities and colleges that get grants and loans, and then they do a bunch of DEI stuff. They do a bunch of climate change stuff.
That's stopping, though.
And that's stopping.
Yeah.
And so what Trump is saying, we don't want money going to projects that are working against what we believe in.
I got you.
And wasting money.
And wasting money, yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? There was a story there back a few months ago about funding for testing shrimp.
Oh, yeah, we've tested. Yeah, we've all seen the video of the shrimp on treadmills.
Now, I'm not opposed to that if you tested fried shrimp. You know what I'm saying? I think they do need to be tested.
We need to know how healthy the Gulf of America shrimp are.
Yeah,
so we have to put them on treadmills.
I think you just wanted to get in Gulf of America.
I did, yeah.
You forced that one.
This is I claim my time.
You know what, though, in all seriousness, I think what President Trump is trying to do there with this is to say, wait a minute, we're going to take a look at where all this federal money is going and what it's going for. It's not just going to continue to be like a waterfall here coming. And also, if you're giving colleges and universities money, for example, that doesn't need to be going for DEI purposes because that's already been dealt with an executive order last week. By this administration. So
I think also the possibility, and now it isn't going to affect Social Security because some on the left have said, oh, my, people aren't going to get their Social Security checks. No. However, I think what they are going to look at is Medicaid because there's been a lot of controversy about Medicaid, federal taxpayers' dollars going to people who are in the country illegally. You know, for health care that's being paid for by the taxpayer after they enter this country illegally. So he wants to look at all of those kinds of things as well.
Yeah. Well, good for him. That's another good step. By the way, did y'all see where Jim Acosta is out?
Yes. He has
at CNN.
He left. I'm looking at a video of him where he quits live on the air.
Quit?
Yeah, some people are saying he's leaving. Others have said he is, quote, out. But it looks like from the various videos that people are posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, he may have actually made the decision himself to depart from the channel.
Well, apparently they're going to shift his show to midnight on CNN, and he said, I don't want that. So I think he's quitting.
Okay, well, if he shifts to midnight on CNN, then
That's their way of asking you, would you please leave?
yeah, and he only 27 people are going to know he quit.
That's true.
If he does that, because it's not. CNN is hemorrhaging.
It really
They
is.
have been. MSNBC.
On a record level. Record level.
And it's surprising because when I was younger, when Wesley was a kid, CNN was the cable news channel. Fox didn't come along until the mid '90s, but it really didn't become huge until the 2000s. So CNN was the place you went to for cable news back in the day.
Now I know I've seen where CNN's ownership management has told them to dial it back. That is the Trump bashing, and try to be more neutral and nonpartisan in hopes of drawing an audience. Because, but they're like, with the crew they've got, Anderson Cooper and Jim Acosta and Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper can be fair sometimes. He can be. But they've got once you lose your viewership, it's almost impossible to get them back.
Yep.
Because they built their viewership up, did CNN, during Trump's first administration as the resistance.
Yeah.
Media.
And Jim Acosta was a big part of that.
He was the leader of it.
Yeah.
And they had an audience who would tune in to watch that, and now they just Fox News is making money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know about Newsmax. I guess they're profitable. Who else you got out there? But MSNBC and CNN, as I say, are losing money.
The ones that are in the
losing
far
viewers.
left.
Yeah. There's another
One American News.
One American News. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Now, what's the News Nation one with Chris Cuomo?
That's kind of a relatively new upstart, but it does have Cuomo and a couple of other people on there. They actually hosted a debate, one of the presidential debates.
So you got One American News. They've been in the last 5 years, right? 10 years. They're pretty new. One American News, and then you got Newsmax. They're fairly new.
Real America's Voice is one. Salem has a TV network now.
Yeah.
There's
but if you want to know where to get your news, people,
American. Yep.
It's American Family News.
That's right.
That's our own news service that we provide, and our team works very, very hard on this. Now, we don't have a video, but we have audio.
We do have some video.
We have a video update now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have a great website.
Yes.
And a daily news brief. Fred, why don't you promote that for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. Our daily news brief. If you go to our website, afn.net, you go up to the right-hand corner. There you can sign up for our daily news brief. It is a summary put together by our editors of the top stories of the day from our own team of reporters especially. We report things from a biblical perspective. In other words, when we do a story about pro-life, it is going to be about pro-life. It is going to be about saving the life of the unborn, where you're not going to have a bunch of stuff from the pro-abortions. All right? So you're not going to get the nonsense that you get on the left. So in that daily email, we will send you one email a day. You'll get a summary of Christian news from a Christian perspective. And I tell you, folks, it's invaluable. We've got share it with your kids. If you've got homeschool kids, and this is a great place to get your news for the day, introduce them to news, sort of thing. Take it to your Sunday school class. It's great issues of what's going on in the culture out there, and we need more of this kind of thing. So, daily news brief from afn.net. Just sign up for it. Put your email address in there. We will send it. So you'll get 5 emails from us a week. That's the max.
Hey, Fred, I want to get your comments on this. So I was in town working with 8 Days of Hope, and came across someone who found out I worked at AFA and AFN, and they didn't really care for the conservative side of what we do. And they said, well, y'all are just biased, blah, 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 and biased this, biased that. Y'all don't hire liberals. Y'all don't hire progressive, blah, blah, blah. And I thought about it for a little bit, and I said, sir, we're biblically biased.
Yes.
And we're not ashamed of that.
No.
And so listening to you and the work that y'all do at AFN, I'm thankful for the work y'all do. And would you agree with that? We're biblically biased.
Well, and we're biblical biased because the Bible is the source of absolute truth.
Absolutely.
And absolute truth doesn't change with time because our God doesn't change with time.
Amen.
What God says is true. is true through the ages. It doesn't change. And so without apology,
Amen.
we're going to base our news on a source of absolute truth, whether it's pro-life, whether it has to do with sexual morality.
Yeah.
We don't change on that front without apology. And I think that's one thing, it goes back through the years since we've been doing this, that we have stood strong on. And our audience can depend on us giving that news from a biblical perspective.
Amen.
And I think more and more people are appreciating that, folks.
They sure are.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, sometime today, we will be hearing from the new White House press secretary.
Yes.
Yes.
It will be her first behind the podium press conference. She's 27 years old.
Yes.
The youngest press secretary in the nation's history. Her name is Caroline
Leavitt.
Yeah. And, 27.
Yes.
Wow.
Dana Perino was 35 when she was the press secretary.
But I will tell you, I've heard Caroline Leavitt interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think for a moment, being 27 years old, oh, she's really green. Oh, no, she can handle herself.
Yeah.
This is going to be exciting. We're so used to Karine Jean-Pierre for the
Jim
last...
Acosta should have waited a day before he quit.
I tell you what.
Karine Jean-Pierre. By the way, we need to catch up with what she's doing nowadays. What is Karine Jean? Let me be clear. Pierre doing? Is she being clear somewhere?
I will refer you to the
Is she
HR
referring
department
people
to find
to-
out what her forwarding address is.
I will refer you to somewhere that you'll get a busy signal because I don't want to answer your stupid question.
Yeah.
Because I don't have an answer. Next question.
Well, and Caroline has said, I'm not going to have a great big book that I refer to when
Yeah.
somebody asks me a question.
Listen, Karine Jean-Pierre, as we say down here, bless her heart.
Yeah.
She tried to do the best she could with the lies she was presented each day to try to sell America on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me be clear, people.
We will.
We will be back in 5 minutes.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
The American Family Association, informing, equipping, and activating to transform American culture.
Jesus commissioned his disciples to make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything Jesus commanded them.
We at the American Family Association seek to aid the church in our Great Commission.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. President Trump rallying Republicans to come together and advance his agenda. During the House GOP annual retreat in Florida last night, Aisha Hosni has more from Doral, Florida.
This was the first time that President Trump addressed the full GOP conference in person since becoming the president, and he laid out his agenda, his goals to expand his tax cuts, pass border security and energy legislation, also raise the debt ceiling. And once again, he told the GOP not to get bogged down in how many bills, one or two, that it would take to get it done. Right now, the House Freedom Caucus continues to push forward two separate bills, with tax cuts pushed to the latter bill, and Republicans are saying they will pass whatever they come up with.
Members of the Senate Commerce Committee holding a hearing about the Panama Canal and its impact on the U.S. this morning. Republican Senator and Committee Chair Ted Cruz of Texas opening the hearing by reaffirming their commitment to maintain jurisdiction over the canal and address growing concerns, including rising Chinese investment around the canal.
Chinese companies are right now building a bridge across the canal at a slow pace so as to take nearly a decade. And Chinese companies control container ports at either end. The partially completed bridge gives China the ability to block the canal without warning.
The Trump administration is reportedly halting various forms of federal aid. Madeline Rivera has more from Washington.
There's a bit of confusion regarding this memo and how sweeping it will be. So per this 2-page memo that the Office of Management and Budget reportedly states that each agency must do an analysis to identify programs or projects and make sure they comply with the president's executive orders. The OMB is ordering all federal agencies to temporarily pause grants and loans while that review is being done, but Medicare and Social Security will not be affected. The acting director of the OMB, Matthew Vaith, says the use of federal resources to advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve.
ICE confirming there were just over 580 migrant crossings at the U.S. southern border on Monday. President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, says he thinks these are historic numbers.
These numbers here, I've been doing this 34 years. This is the lowest number I've seen. So we're pretty close to having an exact secure border across the line, but we got a little bit more work to do.
A study out of Great Britain finds that children there are 50 times more likely to suffer from gender distress than they were 10 years ago. Experts on this side of the pond say there's no reason to believe U.S. children are any different.
National Health Service records show that in 2011, only 200 minors identified as transgender or struggled with gender dysphoria. That number had skyrocketed to 10,000 by 2021, with little girls leading the way. The report says social media was to some extent responsible for the increase. Dr. Joseph Guthrie, a medical doctor who specializes in psychology, says all kids struggle with adolescence to some degree and tend to be easily influenced as well.
And so both the children and their parents are seeking an explanation and a ready explanation. In the TikTok videos and social media is going to be gender dysphoria.
Great Britain banned puberty blockers and gender mutilation surgery for minors last December, and Dr. Guthrie says for good reason.
It does not help the rate of suicide. It does not improve the mental health outcomes. Instead, you see an actual worsening of mental health outcomes with these interventions.
Dr. Alex McFarland of Truth for New Generation says some of the young people are just looking for a way to stand out or to be different than their peers.
It's a way to feel unique. It's a way to feel special. It's a way to think you have found who you are.
But he says the trans phenomenon harms young people both physically and spiritually.
It's not that human nature has changed. It's not that human needs have changed. And it's certainly not that God's word has changed.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
U.S. consumer confidence dipped for the second consecutive month in January. The Conference Board said today its Consumer Confidence Index retreated in January to 104.1 from 109.5 in December. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Today, Christians are facing challenges in homeless ministry. In 2023, homelessness reached its highest level since reporting began in 2007, even affecting families with children, unaccompanied youth, and the elderly. Homeless ministries require long-term commitment and support, not quick fixes. Pastor Jim Yates advises taking manageable steps when building a homeless ministry. Read the full article, Compassion, It's a Messy Business, by me, Jordan Chambly, on thestand.net.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. Again, it's Tuesday, January something. I don't know. What is it, Fred?
28.
28.
I'm sorry, I'm not Fred. I'll get back in line.
That's okay.
I'll behave.
No, that's all right.
Sorry.
So Wesley Wildman with me, Fred Jackson with me, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us.
Morning, everybody.
Studio on this, January's, we've about blown through January, hadn't we?
Yeah. Yep. End of February.
Always
All
amazing.
right. Hey, Steve, Wesley and I were talking here off the air, looking at aerial shots of Southern California.
Yeah.
In particular, the Los Angeles area, although there's been some fires now in the San Diego area. And you, having gone to school there and know that part of the country very well, the Palisades, right? That's what it's called, which is a mountainous area just north of Los Angeles. Is that right?
It's like a park / community, but it butts up against the ocean.
Okay. But we've seen the aerial shots, I guess thousands of homes and businesses destroyed.
Gone.
I was going to ask you, of course, now they're calling for rainfall that might cause mudslides.
That's the next thing up.
But I wanted to ask you, I know you're not an expert on this subject that I'm about to bring up, but Wesley and I were talking here. How long do you think it will take for them to rebuild? And is that even possible now? Do you think insurance will be so unaffordable? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
It's a real interesting question because there's a lot of people who think that the conspiracy theorists will say that the fires were set on purpose for this. I don't believe that. But now that they're gone, California is all into low-income housing and apartments, and there's a lot of people who say that they're going to replace all those million-dollar homes with apartment buildings. And so there's going to be a battle based on, between the people that own the land and the people that want to build.
Okay, the houses the slabs are still there.
Yes.
There.
Can you, pardon my ignorance here, but can you just rebuild on top of the slab?
I don't know.
Or does that depend on the damage, I guess?
I think
but I mean, it's just concrete. You can't burn concrete up, right?
No. Probably, although the problem with that is that whatever house you build on top of it is going to smell like smoke forever. Probably
Really?
want to do. Oh, yeah. It's.
You mean because the smoke stays in the ground in the slab?
The slab was burned. It might not have burned up, but it was burned. And anybody that moves back into, regardless of what slab they're building on, that place is going to smell like smoke for quite a while. I saw a community in Colorado Springs that was burned to the ground like this. It was much smaller than what happened in LA, but the entire neighborhood burned to the ground. And within a year, they were rebuilding those homes.
Yeah.
Well, if your conspiracy theory that you're
What's the conspiracy, guys? Fill me in here. I'm new to this.
Because
I believe in Bigfoot. That's what you're talking about?
There is a belief that Gavin Newsom and his liberal Democrats out there, they're really into social housing. And of course, California has a problem with homeless.
Talking about low income housing or free housing, government housing, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So there is a thought out there that Newsom will say, all right, we're going to designate 50% of the land that was burnt. Instead of allowing $1 million houses to be built there again, we're going to put up multi-family apartments, low-income apartments.
You're not saying Newsom was a part of the arson or something, are you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't even think the wildest conspiracy theory would say that, although
you're saying the conspiracy theory is
post-fire.
Post-fire.
Take advantage
on the rebuild is what you're saying. Yes. Okay.
Yes. And that starts because was one of the reasons that the conspiracy has started to because of Karen Bass's comments about waiting. The mayor of L.A. To wait 18 months before they can go back in there and start rebuilding. So if you have to wait 18 months to rebuild, why is that? Well, maybe.
Well, for one thing, they're going to have to clean. I don't know what the time, but they are going to have to clean that stuff out, and that's going to take a year.
Yeah.
Don't you think, to clean everything out? Maybe not, but I'm talking.
A lot of these homeowners have said, "We're not going back.
Right. Right.
We're not going to do it." Think of the loss of the tax base.
That's what Yep.
Think of the loss of the tax base.
That would be enormous.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right, because the property taxes there, and the people who live there in the Palisades in particular, they make more money than the average American, probably double, triple on average. So
yep.
A lot of money it would be leaving at least that part of Southern California.
They've been losing money for years now with people leaving. There's a lot more.
Right.
The U-Haul did a survey and found that California is the least likely place you're able to find a U-Haul truck because they're all leaving.
Hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Steve, and then we can move on from here. And I've been to Southern California, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 times in my life for various and sundry reasons. But what's the number one attraction for people living there? Is it the weather?
It's the weather.
Okay.
It's the weather.
It's pleasant. It's very pleasant most of the year.
It's beautiful weather. Yeah. And now L.A. proper has some smog or had some smog problems, and there's just a lot of people there. So a lot of people are just are born there and live there. But if you were going to choose it, like down near San Diego or up near Ventura, which is south and the north of the LA basin, it's perpetual spring.
Okay.
It's gorgeous.
Okay. And the scenery.
Yeah, and it's beautiful beyond description, almost.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. Thanks for listening. Wesley, Fred, Tim, and now Steve. Steve, what's your story there you got in front of you?
Well,
by the way, we already talked about Jim Acosta being booted.
Did you?
Yeah, we stole that story from you. Sorry about that. You can just dish that one to the side and move on to your next story.
But I brought some sound in.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
that adds flavor.
Okay. For people who didn't hear last hour,
Yes.
or maybe you did, Steve's got some sound to this. Jim Acosta, the legendary Trump hater at CNN.
It's going to be a comedy skit.
He's leaving, or he's been booted, or what?
Well, they wanted to move his time slot, and he said, after careful consideration, I'm out. I don't want to move my time slot. Going to give him 2 hours at midnight instead of 1 hour at 10 o'clock, I think it was what it was. But I wanted to just play you a little bit of memory, go back a couple years, and relive the joy that was the press conferences between Donald Trump and the fights he had with Jim Acosta. I just think that's worth going back and
Kind of like watching highlights of Frazier and Ali.
It's like that, or
Sorta.
like watching highlights of car wrecks. Yeah. Let's listen to cut 11.
And they're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of
You know
miles
what?
away. That's
I
not
think
an
you
invasion.
should, honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings
Let
would
me
be
ask,
much better.
if I may
Okay,
ask
that's
one other
enough.
question, Mr. President, if I may ask
Peter,
one
go
other
ahead.
question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's
Mr.
enough.
President,
That's
I was
enough.
going to ask one of the other folks. have
That's
had-
enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse
President,
me. That's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have
I'm not concerned
indictments-
about anything with
that you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming down?
investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
He walked away from the podium.
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
And he's not anymore.
Yeah,
he's
right.
not. Yeah, that's right.
That was
one weekend, and he's gotten rid of Jim Acosta.
The clip we heard was from the first administration.
Yes.
First Trump administration.
It was. He has a whole new attitude toward the press now.
What is that?
He's not fighting with them. They're not the enemy of the people. He just doesn't care what they say about him anymore. I mean, this is the lame duck status where he doesn't have to think about another
Yeah, he can't
election.
be elected again, so.
So he's just going and doing his thing, and if you don't like it, you write about it wrong.
Well,
You're
if
gonna
I'm-
have a
Well, I think also Trump now realizes the public is on his side.
That's what. Yep.
The public doesn't trust the mainstream media. So Trump sees himself out there with mainstream America who feel the same way they feel the same way as Trump does about the mainstream media. They're discredited themselves.
That's right.
They are going down the tubes. We talked about CNN, MSNBC. So he's taking a victory lap, saying, "I told you so." You know, the media is not to be trusted. Fake news, all of that sort of thing. He has won that battle.
And I believe the single biggest thing that came from the election is President Trump winning the popular vote, because that takes a lot off the table for the Democrats that would have otherwise spent the next 6 months, starting the day after the election, of saying this isn't the popular people. They spoke.
Yeah, they
didn't
would
get
say,
the-
yeah, but he didn't win the popular vote.
Oh, that we've heard that for elections in the past, and they would and they would use that as motivation, and they would spin that however they wanted. But they lost in every category, outright flat. They just lost.
Yeah.
And when you lose that bad across the board, you get and President Trump feels that. I do think he's
The wind. He knows the wind is at his sail.
That's
Yes, yes.
The wind is at his back, which helps him sail, right?
Yes, fills out the sails. The wind's at your back. You're going
I don't
forward.
know. Let me think.
Was that metaphor? I got my metaphor right there.
The wind is at your back.
But now we are known to mix metaphors on today's issues.
Yes, we are. So we're good at it too.
Purposefully,
The wind at your back
maybe
is
not
two
so
in the
much,
bush.
but we do it.
All right, Steve, next story.
All right. I'd like to play you. The Catholic Church is very, very concerned with the plight of the illegals in this country and the Catholic Charities specifically. I came across this video of a lawyer for the Catholic Charities telling illegal immigrants how to avoid ICE. Cut 7.
My name's Barb Graham, and I'm an attorney at Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Milwaukee in the Refugee and Immigration Services Program. This is a video about knowing your rights if Immigration and Customs Enforcement approaches you. You have the right to remain silent. You do not need to speak to the immigration authorities or answer any questions. You may simply refuse to answer or remain silent. You may refuse to show identity documents and say what country you are from.
So they want, we don't want to beat up on the poor illegal immigrants, but I'm thinking there might be another reason that they are worried about this whole thing. According to a study, or the study by a group called Complicit Clergy, compiled they have found out how much money the government has given Catholic Charities. Over the last 4 years, the government has given Catholic Charities $2.9 billion.
For
whatever the Catholic charity does.
Well, all right, let me tell you how this works here, because I have close friends who are Catholic, all right? They are what you call real Catholics, okay, conservative Catholics, not Biden-type Catholics. By that I mean they actually, they actually believe in law and order.
They follow the churches.
Yes, they believe in compassion, and yes, they believe in helping people and doing charitable work. That is the history of the Catholic Church all around the world, probably more than any other group in history. However, groups like this Catholic Charities, they're far lefties, okay? They're out of step with the mainstream Catholic churchgoer out there. And whoever controls that purse should rein them in. I don't know if that's the Catholic bishops or whoever controls that, but this group right here has only fostered illegal immigration to the hilt. The reason they got money, in the Biden administration in particular, is because they believe in illegal immigration. And they don't believe immigration is illegal. Now, they might say it on their paper, but they do everything they can, like this example you just gave, to foster, to encourage, to incentivize people pouring into the United States of America illegally. And when you say anything about it, they'll say, hey, we got to help these poor people.
Yeah.
That's our job as Christians, is to help these poor people. And nobody denies it's the Christian's responsibility to be charitable to people and to help poor people.
Which is why we send the most number of missionaries around the world.
Around the world. And America does the most work, both privately and governmental, around the world to help the poor and the needy.
That's right.
Okay? So that's not the issue. But these folks here, this Catholic Charities, like you just played, they need to be defunded by the Catholic Church. If I was a member of the Catholic Church, I would try to say none of my tithing goes to support this group.
Well, the individual Catholic is certainly free to do that, but the problem that they're going to run into currently is that the Pope is on the side of the NGO, of the Catholic Charities.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
So I got some Catholic friends who want that Pope out too.
Yeah.
So he's not very popular among a lot of American Catholics. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Next story.
All right.
I've said as much as I can about the Catholic Church when I'm from a evangelical Protestant boy. Okay. So,
we'll go on here.
Yeah.
Senator Mike Lee wants to fight the cartels, and he has a plan. He wants to bring back privateers. This is.
Might you explain to us what that is?
A privateer is a civilian who is given permission to do things that military people would do in time of war. Now, you think mostly of the pirates, people going and taking over pirate ships and that kind of stuff, privateers. But Mike Lee wants to authorize American citizens to enlist in the war on.
There's some college team called the Privateers.
Are there?
Yeah. I'm going to look that up. Go ahead. I remember. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about?
No.
So he says that Congress should issue letters of marque and reprisal, which is the permission slip, basically, to become a privateer, authorizing private security firms or specially trained civilians to intercept cartel operations, particularly those involving.
What do you do? Do you deputize them?
Basically, you get the letter. They're still private. They're not they're not part of the government, but they are allowed by the government to interdict these terrorists.
What do you think about that, Steve?
I was going to say, do you like that?
I think it's a dangerous job, but Mike Lee's not alone. Anybody,
hey, the University of New Orleans, they're known as the privateers.
There you go.
I remember that somewhere. So anyway, well, I don't know what I think about that idea.
Do you know who Representative Justin Keene is in Mississippi? Representative Justin Keene.
You know what did he say?
He has a bill
in the state legislature.
State legislature that would authorize a $1,000 a head bounty on illegal immigrants.
A bounty?
Yeah.
A bounty means you.
But is that?
It's
you better clarify that.
Is that for information?
It authorizes a $1,000 reward for tips related to the capture of an illegal immigrant and creates a felony crime of trespass by an alien with some pretty stiff punishments.
Yeah.
Well, if it just involves giving authorities information,
right?
I think that group of people living in that house,
right?
I don't think they're here legally. You may want to check them out.
Yeah,
I have a problem with that.
I don't like the word bounty.
Well, it's in
bounty
the name of the bill.
Bounty sounds like, you remember in the old Western movies.
I don't mind it.
Huh? You don't mind
Well,
bounty? Bounty. Now, you had what was that? The guy on TV, Dog, the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah. Now hold on.
Would you
hold
pay
on.
him?
It does allow, as I'm reading here, it's called the Illegal Alien Certified Bounty Hunter Program. The bill was authored by Representative Justin Keene and authorized certified bounty hunters to round up illegal immigrants for deportation at $1,000.
Before we get started, I'm pretty hardcore about getting rid of illegal immigrants.
Okay.
I don't.
You're not talking about getting rid of them. You're talking about sending them home.
Yes, not get rid of them. Yes.
Well, I'm just trying to keep us off the,
of the hate list.
The hate
we've been on that for a while, so that's not going to change.
People, or whatever that group is.
I'm sorry. There for a moment, I didn't feel like I had to split hairs.
Right.
I apologize.
What's that group in Montgomery that puts us on the hate group? The Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah.
Trying to keep us off there, Wesley.
Well, you know what? They don't have.
You're not being helpful.
Listen, they don't have a quote.
Get rid of them.
Well, they don't have a quote from me yet, so now they do.
Now they do. Yeah, put you in there.
Oh, wow. Wesley's made the list.
All right. Next story, Steve.
All right. Listen, I'm not sure what's going on in Georgia, but the Republican Party is a little squishy, it seems.
And where?
Georgia.
Okay.
The state 2 over from Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that, yeah.
Yeah. The Republican. Just this week, the Republican-led House invited a transgender, quote, pastor to come and do a devotion and lead prayer to open up their legislative session.
Oh, what?
Cut.
Where'd you get this from?
Well, you can listen to it. Cut 9.
We might recognize each other from those days, perhaps, but probably not. I got cuter since then. As I was preparing for this moment, I remembered the little rhyme that my grandmother taught me in the little Methodist church in New Bern, Georgia, where they lived.
I can't take it.
The little rhyme went like this. You probably know it. This is the church. This is the steeple. Open the doors and see all the people.
That's all.
No, I learned this when I was very young.
That's all I can take of that. But that was a speaker in front of the Georgia state legislature?
His name is Andy Woodworth. He goes by Andy Woodworth, and his ANDI. And
that's surprising. Because you said that is a Republican-controlled House?
It is.
And if you live in Georgia, help us do something about that.
Well, yeah, that should be that.
The Speaker of the House thanked this pastor and said to the people, the
that was a
lawmakers
pastor.
Yes, she is a pastor. Probably.
But that's a he, right?
It is a he. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you see, you fell for it yourself.
Now I'm going to be on somebody's list.
Listen.
But the Speaker of the House thanked this guy and said to the members assembled there, if you guys want, this pastor is going to be in the ante room back there. If you guys want to go take pictures with her, you may.
Yeah, you shouldn't be having that.
No, and that's going to be going away pretty soon. But the wave is not in your favor here.
I really am surprised because Georgia is basically a conservative state, and if the assembly, as they call it, General Assembly, is is controlled by Republicans, and they invited this fella who says he's a woman to quote pray. Anyway, listen. I don't.
That's disturbing.
Nobody hates anybody that's in this situation. They're obviously messed up. Okay, they're confused. By messed up, I mean they're confused
and deceived.
The people who think they're a man, and they think they're a woman. And a lot of times there are reasons for this that are that affect people's lives. I knew one person who was found out to be a cross-dresser, and this was 25 years ago. I remember this, and I knew this person personally. And what had happened to him was his grandmother dressed him up like a girl when she kept him for years, like for 4 or 5 years, and that warped him.
Mm-hmm.
That warped him. So a lot of times there's that kind of thing in the background of these people, sadly and tragically, but you don't celebrate it. No. All right, you do not celebrate it or say it or say it's something that should be applauded or you're brave for doing this or anything like that. That's not normal. It should, and God created male and female.
Amen.
And there's nothing else. God created male and female. So anyway, sorry to hear that happen there in Georgia. All right. Fred, thank you.
Good to be here.
Wesley, thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Steve.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Now, you're going to give me a geography lesson, are you, Steve?
Want me to? What?
Yeah, you said Georgia was 2 states over from Mississippi.
It's the second state over, I think I said.
Oh, huh?
Didn't I say the second state over?
State.
Yeah, it's
Alabama's the first state over, and then Georgia's.
Alabama's between us. That's right. You're on to something there, Steve.
We just hope we made everybody's day better.
Steve the Explorer.
All right.
All right. My thanks to Brent Creeley, Kirk Cameron, Chris Woodward. We thank you for listening to American Family Radio. Have a great day, everybody. See you back here tomorrow.
The words you are about to hear are taken